everybody. Now, let me get something out of the way right now. You will notice my apron. You've seen this apron before, but you can read it, right? You can read it, right? That's good. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because in the last two videos, you might not have been able to read it because I didn't notice until I was finished recording my previous video that everything came out backwards. And I really didn't understand why that was because that never happened before. And after doing some research, I found out that, well, you know how phones and tablets have those periodic updates you have to do? Well, you know, those software updates. After the last update, it appears that the default setting was made so that when you record a video, then everything is flipped or mirrored. Why that was turned into the default setting, I have no idea. But now I figured it out, and now the videos will be easier to comprehend. Now, you know, I've been getting a lot of requests lately for different things like lasagnas and more 7-layer salads, but I decided I would, what? Why are you making so many things with eggs? Eggs are too expensive nowadays. I really don't think eggs are that expensive. In fact, I just went to the store the other day, and eggs only cost... You know, on second thought, let's not cook with too many eggs. Let's not cook with any egg. Oh, better yet, let's make it fully vegan. And you know what? I can dedicate the video to my best friend, Michelle. See, she's not fully vegan, but she... That's not how she spells her name. She only spells it with one L. Now, anyway, she's not fully... Who in the world would spell their name like that? Well, that's better, but it shouldn't have taken that long. Anyway, Michelle is not fully vegan, but she doesn't eat red meat. And I decided I'd make her, wait, I haven't decided yet. I could make her a vegan Cuban sandwich. Delicious pressed sandwich. Now it's my favorite sandwich. What? Didn't you just make a Cuban sandwich video 2 videos ago? Yeah, I did, but that wasn't a vegan version. See, now let's get started. What? The substitutions aren't that hard for a vegan Cuban, are they? Well, you know, actually, finding vegan ham wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. But when it comes to the roast pork element, that one became a little tricky. I mean, there's a way I've seen, a traditional way I've seen people do it in vegan versions of roast pork. I don't do it that same way. I like to, well, you know what, Barriette? Let me show you. Now, when I said the traditional way that people add a vegan element to roast pork, what I meant is that a lot of people tend to use jackfruit. Now, I live in Wisconsin, and fresh jackfruit is not easy to come by here. So in that case, I wouldn't knock if you use canned jackfruit, well, even if you weren't in Wisconsin. But I'm not even going to use canned jackfruit. I'm instead going to use eggplant. Why? I just think it'll come out better. Now, you'll notice that I already peeled this eggplant. We're, of course, not going to need the whole thing, but the first thing we're going to have to do to mimic the element of roast pork is to shred our eggplant. See, like I said, we'll shred our eggplant, and eggplant doesn't really shred very well, does it? What can I do instead? Oh, I know. Hold on one second. What I decided to do instead was I took the eggplant and sliced it up into roughly, there's about 1.5 cups of eggplant. Speaking of 1.5, that's a strange segue. Actually, I'll get back to that. But, oh yeah, the eggplant has the usual seasonings on both sides, and eggplant sliced this thick would actually really be good for eggplant parmesan. I have to show you how to make that one day. But actually, it really doesn't matter how thick I slice it because I'm about to slow cook all this eggplant in homemade apple cider. So why don't you just slow cook it in water? Well, you know, pork goes well with apples, and slow cooking it in apple cider will give it extra flavor that will mimic what? I know it's not really pork, but just go with me on this one. Now, basically, back to speaking of 1.5. you don't need all this apple cider. Basically, you're only gonna need about 1.5 quarts of it. See, you know when you slow cook things, a lot of times you like put whatever you're gonna put into the slow cooker and then just fill it almost all the way to the top with whatever liquid, usually water. I mean, this isn't water this time. I mean, well, there is water in it, but why do I keep bringing this up? Anyway, you're not gonna fill up the whole slow cooker. You're just gonna fill it, well, like I said, 1.5 quarts. So basically what we're gonna do next is put the eggplant in there, cover it with 1.5 quarts of, how many times am I gonna say that? Cover it with 1.5 quarts of the apple cider, and whatever apple cider you have left, and brought up again. Whatever apple cider you have left, just pour it into a mug, serve it hot or cold, enjoy that, and then we will check on the eggplant again in about 4 hours. Our eggplant is all done. Of course, it wasn't cooked in the container, it was cooked in the slow cooker. Anyway, before we add it to the sandwich, we of course have to make sure it tastes good on its own. So let me just break off a little piece here. You know, I was really worried that this wasn't gonna work. And I don't know why, but I've been wanting to do eggplant like this for a long time. It tastes really good. In fact, it tastes so good that I might have to start slow cooking my pork in apple cider and see how that turns out. Anyway, let's build this sandwich. Toasted sub roll, mustard, again, non-negotiable, pickles, ham, eggplant, and cheese spread. Oh, one more thing I want to point out is that even though it's traditional to put Swiss cheese on a Cuban sandwich, this is actually vegan mozzarella cheese spread. Why? Well, I've found that vegan Swiss cheese blocks are a little too hard to shred. Frankly, they're about as easy to shred as it is to shred an eggplant. And I've also found that vegan Swiss cheese slices are a little too flimsy. Or maybe I'm just too strong. Anyway, right after I'm not gonna sit on the sandwich. Right after I press the sandwich, using this greased, heavy duty, disinfected first, 5-pound weight plate, I'm gonna what? Don't you mean that you're gonna press it down with your ass? I'm not saying that. Anyway, after I press the sandwich down with this weight plate for a few minutes, we're gonna throw it into our handy dandy 350-degree oven for 3 more minutes to melt down the cheese. Now this is what I'm talking about. And of course, here comes my favorite part. Come on. You would think by this point I'd know enough not to take really big bites of food. Anyway, this is really delicious, and you know, I've never had vegan ham before, but I'm gonna start buying it more often, and I am very proud of myself. Well, I'm proud of myself for everything I make, but proud of myself especially because of the eggplant. Extra cheese there. Proud of myself especially of the eggplant idea. Like I said, I'm gonna even try that process in non-vegan recipes, and I'm really sure that Michelle will like this as well. You know what? Can't just have a sandwich without a side. What should I make on the side? I know BLT pasta salad. I haven't made that in a while, and you know what? It may seem or might sound kind of complicated, but you can make a good BLT pasta salad in 30 minutes or less, and there aren't that many ingredients. All you really need are rotini, and then of course you need the B, L, and T. Oh, and some whipped dressing wouldn't hurt. And here we go. really have to start making this more often. And I'm sure Michelle will enjoy this too. Now, let us finish with a what? Why don't you make some dessert before you make a beverage? How'd you know I was gonna make a beverage? Well, dessert I know. I can make something I was gonna make for the holidays, but I never got around to it. That is cranberry cobbler. So I'll just take a few cranberries, and then as you remember in my cobblers, I like to caramelize, okay, this is more than a few cranberries. What can I say? They're on sale. Anyway, you know I like to caramelize the fruit when I make cobblers, but cranberry cobbler is going to be a little different because cranberries are kind of tart. Actually, they're very tart. So instead of the usual caramelizing process, I am not going to use oil for caramelizing. I'm instead going to use orange juice. Why? Well, cranberries and orange juice I've seen go together really well. So, let me just show you something real quick. Now, you know I generally don't show a lot of tips when it comes to my desserts, but I'll just let you know right now that this does not look like a lot of orange juice, but that's really all you need. Then in go our cranberries, and finally the brown sugar. And these cranberries will be caramelized before you know it. Ah, delicious caramelized cranberries. That orange juice really helped with the tartness. Now, let's build our what? Why didn't you cook them down some more? Why would I cook down the cranberries more? Oh, you know what? You might be thinking of cranberry sauce, and when I'm making cranberry sauce, which I haven't made in a long time actually, should make that again soon. Anyway, with cranberry sauce, you actually do want to cook the cranberries down longer in the orange juice. But I don't want cranberry sauce consistency in my cobbler. I mean, if I do something like that, I might as well just put jam inside the cobbler. So anyway, let's build our what? Do you prefer jellied cranberry sauce or whole berry cranberry sauce? Now, I will actually eat jellied cranberry sauce. I know it comes out of a can. I didn't say I won't eat things out of the can. I just prefer like fresher things, but I like whole berry cranberry sauce better because, wait, we're going off track here. Anyway, you've already seen how I made the cobbler dough, but I'm just going to show you the building process again real quick. Bottom crust, cranberries, and the top crust. And it may be difficult to tell with cobbler crust, but I did score it as usual. Now we're going to throw it into our oven, and then cobbler is the kind of dessert that you actually can enjoy right when it comes out of the oven. So as soon as that's done, we'll do just that. What? Yes, I am drinking leftover cranberry syrup, and this time I'm not going to feel bad about it. What? That's all you put in your cobbler? You know, that's an interesting point. You know, people may see the two crusts and then the cranberries, and then they'll be like, that's all you put in there? But I guarantee you all the flavors in the caramelized cranberries and all the flavors in the crust. See, the cobbler crust is a lot different than the other crust I make. And you'll notice that it's a lot darker than the other crust that I make because of everything I put in it. You know, all the great ingredients that make a good cobbler makes my great cobbler. What? Ingredients like what? You know, cobbler stuff. That is what I'm talking about. And it's no problem if the fruit seeps out because that's what happens with cobblers anyway. Come back. What? Aren't you supposed to eat cobbler with a spoon? I don't know if that's really a requirement. I mean, in a bowl you could... Well, if you insist. I definitely think Michelle will enjoy this as well, as much as I'm enjoying it. And we gotta figure, we talked about a beverage before, we have to wash everything down with a delicious mango yogurt smoothie. You remember these? And it actually, now that I think about it, when I make a smoothie, I usually don't eat dessert because my smoothies have about 3 servings of yogurt in them. So, you know what? We splurging today. That is going to do it. And as usual, if you want to order a cobbler, look in the usual spot and also look down there if you want the recipes for everything else. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you again soon. And what? Speaking of scoring, okay, I don't know how many minutes ago I mentioned that, but I'm not falling for that joke again. What? Speaking of scoring, are you watching the Super Bowl tomorrow? Oh, well, I'm not really into sports that much. And anyway, if I watch sports, at least I'd see someone who was scoring. Oh, man. Walked into it anyway. What? In all seriousness, I hope you do find your Valentine one day. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I hope I find her one day too. Good night.